5. Top 5 storylines of the weekend. And Garrett, I enjoy doing these. You're a fresh voice on the top 5 on Fridays. I enjoy the banter we'll have back and forth on this. Number 5, top 5 storylines of the weekend. Can Texas A&M even put a scratch on Alabama? I don't know. Haynes King is probably going to play quarterback unless broken fingers don't mean you're sitting out as a quarterback on your throwing hand anymore. I don't know. But I just think that even with Jaden Milroe probably in there for Alabama, that this has worked out for Alabama swimmingly. Jimbo Fisher, really poured gasoline on this game in the summer and then has seemingly sucked it all out on his own with the way the offense is playing. They're mired in controversy and anger there at A&M right now because of the way that this season is going. And, he's, like I said yesterday or on Wednesday on the top 5, there's no, he's not on the legitimate hot seat, but if he didn't have the big fire insurance policy that he does.
I think there's definitely some cause for concern there, but I don't think the outcome of this game is really going to impact what Jimbo's future looks like. Unfortunately, you're coming into the situation if you're both teams where neither one of you are probably going to have your starting quarterback. But when you look at the situation, I thought when Milroe came in last week against Arkansas, I was like, oh, man, I think the Hogs might get him. And he kind of got into his rhythm. He got off to a slow start. But I think Alabama just has so much talent across the board that they can make up for not having, there's Bryce out there to do work. But I just don't think, and I was thinking about this morning, is this a situation where A&M kind of selfishly says, well, Texas could hang with them?
Yeah.
Can we? Does that even become up on the radar? I'm not sure, but I just think there's too much talent in Alabama right now for A&M to even have a chance in this game.
Well, Texas has playmakers on offense over just one or two guys, and that's what kind of kept them in the game. And their quarterback play in that game, when they were in control of it, was much better with Quinn Ewers than A&M's has been. So, yeah, that's a great point. I don't know what we're going to see from this game at all. I mean, it wouldn't totally shock me to see A&M, fight and scratch and claw and see this be a close game.
Well, they should.
I mean, yeah, they should. But it also wouldn't surprise me to see this be a wood chipper game.
I'm leaning more towards blowout.
Yeah, me too. I'm leaning more towards blowout. Number 4, why is Notre Dame almost a 10-point favorite against BYU? I don't understand this. Look, they had a great game against North Carolina 2 weeks ago and then the bye. BYU got roughed up against Oregon. They've not looked great in the game since then, but they've won and they've played tough. I picked BYU in this game. I'm standing by that pick. I understand that they're a 9.5-point dog. I don't see it. I don't see it from Notre Dame. I hope this game is great. I hope that whoever wins it is not 9.5 points. I hope the spread is completely busted. But something's going on here that I don't get, and Vegas does, and it worries me as a person who calls myself a pundit. I don't know what I'm missing, and I don't want to look dumb, but I still think I'm going to lean towards, if these teams are pretty evenly matched on both sides of the ball, who has the better quarterback? Hands down, it's Jaron Hall and BYU.
It is. I kind of go back to this, and I don't know if Notre Dame's kind of getting the pass for it's the brand, it's Notre Dame, where, Marcus Freeman's coming in there. There's a whole new era, a new aura around that. And I think some of it might have to do, if you go back to week 1, where Ohio State didn't just obliterate them. They held Ohio State to just 21 points. And then for BYU's perspective, it was like they came in, they looked really good against Baylor, and then they just laid an egg against Oregon. I feel like that's kind of impacted as well. And when you look at BYU's past 2 games, they've kind of struggled with Utah State and Wyoming. So I feel like that's probably impacting this more than what's on the field from Notre Dame. I like BYU in this matchup. I think they have the more talented roster, which is kind of weird to say. But, man, you're right. There's something fishy here that we're unaware of.
Yeah, I don't know. There's something I don't know that they do, and that's why they are who they are, and I'm me. Yeah. So, that's fine. And look, if I have to eat crow in this one, I'll eat crow. But I'm very nervous about my pick of Kansas over TCU. But big one too with Royden this week. I said, look, I'll stick with you. I'm not picking against Kansas until they lose in Kansas at home. So
that's fair.
I didn't know what TCU was legitimately until 5 minutes into that Oklahoma game, and I was like, holy cow.
Yeah.
But Kansas proved a lot to me last week in winning a game 14-11 as well.
No, I mean, that kind of showed that we can do this with our defense as well. It's not all on Jalen Daniels to kind of carry the show there. So I think that kind of showed the grit of the team. And I said it before, but I mean, the identity of Lance Leipold. I mean, you're going to win ugly, man. It's just what it is.
Well, however, he's got to do it. He's figuring out a way. He's figuring out a way. Number 3, this one's for you, Garrett, specifically tailored to you. Can LSU score enough to stop Tennessee? I don't think so. I think even on a bad day, Tennessee's going to score more points. LSU is coming along, but they have to tell Jaden Daniels, like, hey, buddy, go be a super athlete. Go ahead and throw the ball. He's great at, like, third down and long. He is a weapon on third down and long.
Yeah.
Second down and long, he's not. Like, let's move that up and down.
I do not think LSU can hang with them scoring. Yeah. I think if LSU wants to win this game, they're going to have to slow it down. They're going to have to make it extremely ugly, and you're going to have to rely on your backs to carry the load, and you're going to have to create some turnovers. I think that Tennessee's going to be in a situation where they've only played one road game, and it really, it was at Pitt. And granted, I'm not going to take anything away from Pitt and their crowd. It is what it is, but it's not Death Valley. And now, if this was at night, I know it'd be a totally different story, but I just saw a while ago, the gates are open at 9 and the beer's on sale in the Bayou. So if they slow this game down, they can hang, but they cannot match Tennessee scoring. They just can't do it.
No, and there's only a few places in the country that can compare to Death Valley.
Yeah.
And even the other Death Valley isn't, in my opinion, one of them.
No.
It's great, and it's a tough place, but it is not. Like, there is something different about that. Like, there's a few, like the Swamp is like that a lot. Kyle Field's like that. The Big House, the Horseshoe.
That's about it.
That's about it. I mean, there's some other loud ones, but consistently just nutso.
Yeah.
Like, maybe Neyland Stadium now. Like, if they get good again.
Well, it's been a while. They're hungry for it.
Maybe they can get back to that, but, there's nothing. I mean, Number 2 is UCLA for real. We're going to find out this week. Okay, they already beat Washington, so that's a tick in their column. But beating an Oregon team that can really kind of get dirty and muscle you up, Kyle Whittingham likes that, rock hard, like just like status. Like, he really likes that kind of a game. Cam Rising had a really good game against Oregon State last week. The defense had a lot of turnovers. Can UCLA keep that going? I'm interested to see, because if Chip Kelly's back on the scene, that's interesting. That's something I don't know if I can get behind. I'm not a Chip Kelly apologist or fan.
Right.
But he's always entertained me. I'll tell you a quick Chip Kelly story. So, covering the Oregon versus Ohio State CFP, first CFP championship game at AT&T Stadium. Ohio State wins. I was in auxiliary media. And so that was up on the upper deck. They had some seats, like tables in kind of what would be the standing room only areas, which they didn't do for that game. At least not in that spot. So I was up there, and so I get on the elevator, and it was me and somebody else, and then a woman I know named Kristen Keith who freelances now, and we're on the elevator going down to the press conference, and it stops on the suite floor, and Chip Kelly gets on, and there was one Oregon reporter on. So, hey, Coach. Because he wasn't coaching then. It was Mark Helfrich. He was just there for the game to watch the guys that he recruited. He was not happy. He was not happy. And couldn't even muster up a pleasantry. And as he walked off the elevator, he saw Urban Meyer go this way, and he went that way. And I heard him go, Meyer.
We all feel it. We all feel it, Chip.
Yeah. I don't think he was so mad that they lost, but he was mad that they lost to that guy.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, he was mad that they lost to that guy overall. So, but yeah, Garrett, do you think UCLA is real?
I don't. I mean, I think that they're kind of like the benefits of their schedule. I think it's nice to see them, having, especially with all of the angst and animosity around them for going to the Big Ten. It's kind of nice to see them come out and not lay an egg and actually put together a successful season. I really like the play of their quarterback. Their offense is fun to watch. I think that kind of goes back to anywhere Chip Kelly has been, whether it was even with the Eagles. While that whole situation failed, at times their offense was fun. So I think he's back in his realm. He's starting to put the pieces together, and I'm interested to see what he can do once they get into the Big Ten and they get that Big Ten money flowing. Does that help with the recruiting? What can that do? Because if he can stay there and keep this up, he could actually turn them into a power. And it's crazy to think that we can be sitting here saying UCLA and USC could be in the hunt for, making a college football playoff berth, but both of them have been irrelevant for so long.
Yeah, absolutely, especially UCLA.
Yeah.
I mean, UCLA they've not been really relevant since Troy Aikman was there.
Yeah, they have. Well, yeah, because in my lifetime, not in my lifetime, they haven't been relevant, really.
Yeah, they've had 2, maybe 3 good seasons in my lifetime, and ones where like, oh, this is a good team.
Yeah.
But not really at all. Number 1, who gets fired on Sunday? My money is on maybe both these guys in the graphic, and I think Brian Harsin, it'll be interesting to see, do you keep him through the bye week so it's just smoother then, or does Auburn use the excuse that they might get blown out by Georgia? And they might not. We don't know. Although Georgia's gotten a couple scares a couple weeks in a row, and Auburn seems to be reeling right now, so I don't know if this is a game where they're going to hang, even in a big rivalry game, or are they going to use the loss to Georgia, however bad it might be? And if it's really bad, then they can really, we're just so far away from Georgia. We have to do this. When you've given the guy less than 2 years.
I kind of think he gets a pass in this one. I think Georgia is so dominant that 95% of the teams that go up against them are going to get beat. And when you look at on the Louisville side, they got to play a Virginia team who's 2-3. So I feel like if Louisville goes out and gets beat by Virginia, that's more cause for a fire on Satterfield's standpoint than what you're looking at with Harsin. I think Harsin's gone after this year, but I think this kind of buys him a little bit more time because they don't have bad losses in a sense. You got beat by number 10 Penn State. Then you got beat by LSU last week, who's kind of starting to find themselves a little bit. And if you get beat by Georgia, that's Georgia. So I think he's got a little more leeway in that situation than what you're seeing in Louisville. I can be totally wrong. Both of them can be canned. But if we're just looking at this, I'm going with Satterfield getting the can.
Yeah, well, both of them are without the athletic directors that hired them right now. So they're kind of in the same boat. Like, when I did the top 5 on it the other day, I kind of said, one was Chernobyl, one was 3 Mile Island. It's not that you're kind of splitting hairs on the differences here. One only being one happened in a country that was more apt to deal with it. That was it. That's the only difference in those nuclear meltdowns. All right, that's going to do it for us. We're on the stream at 7:00.